Hello there, Eagles fans, and welcome back to our Eagles Therapy Podcast. My name is Basil.
And I'm Baz.
And we are recording Tuesday, September 26th, 2023, a day removed from the Philadelphia Eagles' third win of the season, going 3-0 against those Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Dad.
Oh, wow. It was just amazing. You know, it's funny. I'd read a lot of articles, and it's funny how you watch the guys today scrambling saying, well, I kind of thought it was going to, there was a couple articles. One of them said that the Eagles fan, the Bucs fans were afraid the Eagles might obliterate them.
Yes, I saw.
And we did obliterate them. Absolutely. It was amazing. I mean, and you know as well as I do, a couple of questionable play calling. We could have been 38, 42, 44.
I think 42 in my opinion, maybe 40.
Yeah, we left a lot of points on the table. And then, of course, I'm watching some of these other guys talking today, and they're like, the Eagles still not righting the ship. I'm like, what do we have to do? Score 70 points?
Yeah, right.
Right now they have the Dolphins up number one because they scored 70 points. Okay, who'd they play? I don't get into that. I just don't. It just drives me nuts. Yeah. I watch it to hear what they're saying because I enjoy it.
One of 3-0 teams, the Niners and the Dolphins, like you mentioned before, looking like the three best teams in the league, 2 NFC, 1 AFC. It's got to happen that way. But other than that, we had a great day yesterday. We're going to touch on all of that in just a moment. Tell you what we're going to talk about, of course. We're going to talk about the Eagles and the Bucs game, give an overview, the score, what we want to see more of, how our projected players played, some MVP talk, some top plays of the game. Some of the roster changes that happened, injuries we dealt with, and then we'll give you some top plays around the league, talk about the rooting guide, and then we got a little surprise at the end of what we're going to be doing. But other than that, before we jump into it, we'll just give a little plug to the club. Philadelphia Eagles Fan Club of Colorado Springs is the club we are a part of. We meet at Frankie's at Powers and Galley for every single Eagles game, sometimes other events, but please come and join the Facebook page and come and join the fandom and join in on the fun. But we'll go right into it, Dad. The Eagles and the Bucs played yesterday, and the ending score was I had it here. Sorry, it was 25-11. I had it here, but I wanted to make sure.
I had it, but I'm not going to interrupt.
Well, I got worried because we scored 25 against the Patriots too. So I was like, did I
That's all right.
copy and paste it over? No, 25 against Patriots, 25 against 11. Overview performance. What'd you think of the offense, Dad?
Boy, the way they come out running the ball was just incredible. We've got a running back now in Swift. Gainwell did well as well.
Yeah.
It was good. Unfortunately, Penny, I don't believe Penny rushes.
He didn't see the field.
And even some of Hurts's runs that were so awkward that first week were a lot better. And I know he could have taken off for more, but really, let's stop with the running. Let's button up the short pass game, which was kind of a hard thing to watch yesterday. But it was the offensive line is most. Undoubtedly the best in the league, if not at 1.5. I mean, because I can't see anybody else. But the holes, one of the stats I heard, Swift had 130 yards rushing.
Of course, yep.
99 before he was touched.
That's unbelievable.
99 yards. Somebody sits there and keeps track of how many yards. He ran for 99 yards before he was touched or tackled.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's touched. I mean, that could be he broke a tackle, got more. No, that's touched. That's incredible. That means it just shows you how big they're making those holes for him to run through. It's incredible. The offensive line has been unreal. I have here for the offense. The running game is officially. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a fluke last week. It's probably the best running team in the league.
Considering the Buccaneers were third or fourth
at the time, they were third, I believe.
I know it's early to start the list on who's the best rush defense or whatever, but I mean, after 2 games, they were third or fourth in the league.
Yeah.
So and only letting up like 40 or 50 yards a game. So,
but no, we officially had the best running game in the league, and I would say officially the best offensive line in the league. The offense still, I know, like you said, it's not really, they're trying to right the ship or whatever. We still need to see some of Hurts' passing game from last year come back, I would say. But it's back. It's not as bad as it was.
No.
He finally found a groove. It's still not to the level it was last year, but I think he really found a groove with his passing, and I think he's going to be a lot better.
Just like Sirianni said, you shouldn't be playing your best football week 3 of the NFL season.
Yeah.
If you are, you're going to be one of these 5-0 teams that ends up, 7-9.
The 2016 Minnesota Vikings.
All the time. Happens all the time. You want to build each week and you want to get better. And I'll tell you what, one of the things I'm very happy to be seeing is there was a lot of players getting, like I say, the young guys getting a lot of time on the field in that game yesterday.
Yes, absolutely.
So a couple guys went out and they filled in, but it's, that's just going to make the team that much better. Milton Williams was playing a bunch.
Yeah.
He was
played a bunch this year.
But it's good to see because you think, oh, it's going to be Cox and Fletch and Davis and here he is in there making plays.
Yeah.
And I know he's not a young guy, but he's still third year. Right?
Third year in the league.
But I'm talking to the DBs, the linebackers, some of the players that I saw yesterday, and I did not get to rewatch the game, so I do miss a lot. That's why I always go to you. But I do know one thing for a fact. When they put the tackles, the defensive stats up, I don't think they're right. Because I'm watching that game yesterday, and I'm like, Carter had 10 tackles. And I think he finished with like 3 or 4, and I'm like, what?
Just 2, yeah.
Is that even 2? No, come on.
Yeah, well,
I saw him wrestle the bear 3-4 times.
It's just because he gets in the face of the quarterback and he's there for the tackle. But a lot of times they give the tackle to the first guy who wrapped him up, and then 3 guys fall on top of him, and you can't give everyone a tackle. And that was probably Jordan Davis. He had 3 or 4 times he was in on the tackle, but you can't give him every tackle. Right. But going on to the defense, what do you think of the defense?
Well, the defensive line, like we were saying last week and the week before, we have an unbelievable middle of the line, the defensive line. Carter and Davis are playing unbelievably, and I only see him getting better. Davis has been my MVP of the season so far. He's been great. I mean, not taking anything from Carter and Fletch, but he's been incredible. They're blowing up the line. I mean, we'll talk about the big line play later, but they were amazing. I mean, and it's just getting better. The funny thing is, a lot of we're not getting the sacks. The guys from they're not the guys from the outside aren't able to get in because the quarterbacks are throwing it after 2 seconds.
Yeah.
That's one of the things.
The middle offensive line are getting up there.
Oh my gosh, they're pushing the offensive line back 5 feet every play. It's very encouraging, and just hopefully it just keeps going. It's amazing.
Yeah, the defense is phenomenal. They confirmed what I assumed on the first 2 weeks of the season. A lot of people were kind of bashing the defense after the Patriots game, after the Vikings game. Even though we were missing a bunch of guys, you have to remember we lost N'Kobe, we lost Reed for a game, which really affected us. We'll talk more about him too. But the defense, overall, what I want to say, the defense is phenomenal. The numbers won't show it, but early on, the offense wasn't good. It should have been 14-0, and it was 3-0. And in the end, that makes the defense look kind of bad because it was 25-11. They scored a touchdown. Yeah, that touchdown was at garbage time, and the defense held them so many times. I mean, the reason why that Covey had all those punt returns all those great punt returns is because the defense was playing phenomenal.
Yeah.
So great job on the defense. Yes, like you said, the defensive line in the middle is incredible. Linebackers playing so much better than I expected. But,
and the good thing is they're getting, I believe Ellis was in a little bit on the game.
Yes.
And I know some of the other guys. I saw Edmonds. Edmonds is actually in there on some of those plays. I mean, you just want to see everybody getting their time and maturing, and it's happening right in front of our eyes, and it's amazing.
The defense caused first 4 punts, and then they also had 2 fumbles, but only one was recovered because the Baker Mayfield one, and then an interception. So that's 6 times the defense stopped the other offense from scoring a field goal or a touchdown. Right. So that's incredible. On to special teams. Special teams, the unit is so much better than we expected. It blows my mind. What do you think about special teams?
Well, the way they looked in the preseason and some of the moves and some of the fans not so happy with some of the returners and things like that. They were great. I mean, punting, we punted once. It was only a 38-yarder, of course, but we were punting from the R45, and they downed it at the 15. So, I mean, what more can you do? I mean, kick it out to 3. I was happy with that. Hopefully they continue it. I will say this, though. We were talking about it yesterday. I know their first 2 punts, well, especially their very first punt, Barnett was probably half a step from blocking that thing.
Agreed.
And I remember you and I were like, who's that? He was really huge. He was very tall.
He looked like 98. And I'm like, there's no way Jalen Carter's on the punt coverage team.
Right.
There's no way on the punt return team. There's just no way. So it did take a bit for me to realize that was Barnett. But yeah, man, if you find a role for a guy, give him a role.
Yeah, no, he's playing for us. I mean, it was a very. And then I know in our second punt, because we saw what happened in the first punt, like, my gosh, he looked like he was 7 feet tall, too. He was so stretched out. And I thought, my gosh, if we block a punt, it'd be great. But I mean, we kicked some field goals. We have a new holder with the
Played
new
well.
holder.
Yep.
So I mean, luckily we didn't have to try a 62-yarder. But I mean, I do say we left some points on the field, which I know you and I get a little bit crazy, but I mean, third and goal when you're up 22-3. What are we trying to throw the ball for?
I get you.
Get it in there.
I get you. But yeah, for me, the special teams, much better than I expected, like I said, especially after we lost Zach McPherson and Sean Bradley for the season. But Sidney Brown, he's been doing great. Devin Allen got pulled up. We'll talk about him. But Covey had some great returns. 3 returns.
That's a guy.
That's my guy.
Been talking about the whole season.
3 returns for 81 yards, along with 52. I remember when he was in college, I watched him in the Rose Bowl against Ohio State, and I think back in 2021, and he was just so good. And I was like, man, I want that guy on my team. And they got him. They signed him as an undrafted free agent. I was like, man, I can't believe it. And then he was off and on. They cut him, and they bring him back, and I was like, no. And then now he's finally showing.
That first return was what you saw when he was in college.
Yes.
He just took it to the right side and just quick cut, and he's already at the 50-yard line. It was awesome.
Moving on to what do you want to see more of going forward from the Eagles?
Well, here's another thing. I want to put the brakes on. This offense is not running smooth. First week we played Belichick in the rain. Okay,
the greatest defensive mind coach in NFL.
Second week was the Vikings, very good team. Last night again in the rain, 90 degrees. Like 4 or 5 or 6 players had the flu bug. Hurts was not feeling well from what I heard.
Yeah.
It's funny because as you're watching, I'm like, man, he's the most serious football player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
His face doesn't move. He doesn't smile. He doesn't frown. He doesn't get mad. He just gets back there and plays. But I'm sure the flu bug might have had a little effect. But, we had a few plays, and again, we could have had way more points. The Swift interception was very tough, but
yes, Devin White, that was bad.
But hopefully we, and luckily he wasn't up to 100%, or we might have taken that back. But anyway, we got him back. We got our points, and they look good. But I would like to see a little more, little less interceptions.
I agree.
Still hold on to the ball. I mean, there's not putting it on the floor. So
I'm going with I want to see more. I want to still see more of Goddard. Last year, watching him play he was just so good. He was just great, game changing. And this year, just 5 for 41. They're getting more involved. They're listening to me, so someone must be watching. But I just want to see more of Goddard down the line. And I don't just say that because he's my tight end in fantasy. I say that because I think he can be. He's just a huge part of this team, and having that tight end he's such a mismatch. I've told you before. I think I said it first week. He's the biggest mismatch on this team. Obviously, you got to give props to AJ Brown. He probably is, but Goddard is such a mismatch. He's fast. He's tall. He's big. He can run. He can block. To me, he's just incredible. We got to use him more. What do you have for the selected player last week?
Well, last week I had Josh Sweat. I thought it was his turn.
Okay.
Obviously, like I said earlier today, we're not getting the sacks from the outside exterior guys. I mean, they're making plays, but they're not getting in and they're not, putting it away. But I know these right now they're throwing the ball within 2 seconds.
Correct.
So. But Sweat, maybe a couple tackles, no sacks, obviously, but he made some plays.
Yeah, this happens every year. I've noticed when the Eagles play, because the Eagles have always had a pretty good defensive line. You'd have to go pretty far back, not too far back, 5-6 years to when they didn't have a great defensive line. But even then, we still had Graham, and we still had Vinnie Curry and Derek Barnett, Chris Long. So you'd have to go pretty far back to not find a really good, not great, but a really good defensive line the Eagles had or didn't have. So every time this always happens. It always happened with Eli Manning the most. They would just throw the ball so quick. First few weeks, ball be out so quick we wouldn't get sacks because they're just, we know we can't hold on to it. Come week 8, come week 9, you'll see. Those sacks will start coming.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
Sweat.
Hopefully this week coming up.
Yes.
Yeah. We got the Commanders, and last year, we did to them, and hopefully we can, get a good lead and get some sacks.
Sweat had 4 tackles, like you said.
So that's good. That's
3 combined, 1 assist, so 4 tackles. 3 tackles, 1 assisted, 4 total tackles.
Those guys in too.
That's still impressive, yeah.
But he wasn't a standout player. Unfortunately, he wasn't what I was hoping to see.
So I am now going. I'm 3 for 3. on my players I selected. I chose A.J. Brown last week, and he ended up with 9 receptions for 131 yards, almost a touchdown. Unfortunately, had that drop. He played phenomenal. He broke tackles. He got more yards. He shifted around. He was great. He wouldn't go down. He wouldn't go down at first contact. He was phenomenal. I hope that this is the end of all the drama that happened. I know he was very clear on the fact that it was him. He wasn't, there's nothing wrong with me and Hurts. We're best friends. Like, it's not a problem. Like, nothing happened. So I know that the problem isn't him, and hopefully going forward, I just hope that's the end of it. I know we've seen it once before last year in the playoff. Now this. I hope that 9 receptions and 14 targets. Right. I hope that's enough for you to kind of go, okay, I'm sorry, I'm part of the team. Right. I'm not messing around.
There's one thing I did see. One of the shows I was watching, they showed where he was a little bit too enamored with throwing to Brown. There was one play where Devontae was down and out, and if he had just seen him, instead of locking down on the south side of the field or the right side of the field, Devontae had him beat, just like last week where he had to touch the deep touchdown.
Yes.
And then there was 2 or 3 Goddards wide open across the middle.
Those were painful.
So, hopefully they can say, okay, look, let's just get back to this team concept. You got your numbers. Everybody's happy. Yeah. But it's a team game. We got to,
I know the big problem that we've talked about has been Hurts has just not been seeing the field like he did last year. That's probably what it was partly about.
Yesterday, yes.
Brown was upset about, he's just not seeing the field. And that's why he wasn't hitting AJ when he needed to, or he wasn't hitting Goddard when he needed to. He was kind of locking in. Hopefully that ends this, or this ends that. But I don't know.
Hopefully we get a good weather game here.
Yeah, I'm tired of playing in this bad weather right now.
It was a pour down right there. It was 90 degrees. It feels like it's in here right now.
Yeah. Moving on to our MVP of the game. Who do you have selected for MVP?
Well, my MVP of the game was Jordan Davis.
Okay.
I just think, I guess I can get into my play of the game. I believe the play of the game yesterday was the safety.
Yeah.
After Hurts threw the interception at the goal line, the one that Smith kind of had his man beat, but it was kind of up in the air a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, can't really complain about it, but it was picked off. It was kind of the game would have been over if Smith caught the TD right there.
Correct.
So we were up 20-3 at the time. They got the ball at the 1-yard line, and the play of the game was the safety. And at the time, I was telling you that they had Carter, Davis, Milton Williams, and Derek Barnett on the line.
Yeah.
And then they just collapsed the offensive line, and then Morrow just skipped right through that little opening and by the time he grabbed the running back, the entire offensive line and defensive line fell into the guy. he probably lost 3 yards on that play. It was just incredible. So, then it was 22-3, pretty much game over at that point. We're close to the late third quarter, maybe early fourth. I think it was late third. But, so...
Yep.
Just the guys they had on the field at the time. And Edmonds was even on the field at the time.
Yeah.
Slay was out there as well. So
I read something about that play that defensive coordinator, help me out. Sorry. Sean Desai. Thank you. I'm sorry. It's hard. I think of Johnson, but Sean Desai, he ran a stunt that would allow Jalen Carter to get open to make that tackle. Well, then they double-teamed him, and that allowed Nick Morrow to just bust right through because the guy who was supposed to go and pick up that blitzer, he went and just got onto Carter. So Morrow was wide open for that tackle to make that sack. Pretty cool thing right there when you have 2 guys that just have to tackle this they have to block this defensive tackle, and it allows so much more for your linebackers to play better.
So who do you have for your MVP of the game?
My MVP of the game was Reed Blankenship. Reed had 7 total tackles and 1 interception.
Great pick.
He just looks the role of a great safety. He just plays well. He plays fast. Sometimes maybe that ends up hurting him, but he plays hard.
I know what play you're talking about.
Yeah. He plays hard. He plays fast. He was great. I know the big Mike Evans catch, the great hand one-handed catch was over him.
He's right there.
There's some things he can't do.
No.
But he played just phenomenal. He was covering Evans a lot the night. He was doing great against the tight ends. He was doing great against the run. He was getting down there. Of course, the run really never got past the line, so he didn't have to do much there. But in coverage, he was just everywhere, and he plays so well. So he has 7 total tackles, 1 interception, and kind of a game-changing interception. I know we threw a pick like the next play, but then the fumble. So, but
he's the one that came up on that short out pass, and just clipped the guy's legs
Yes.
up, and that was beautiful. That's a 1 or 2 yard loss, but oh my gosh, open field tackle, great play. I mean, those are the plays you make one of those, and that just can throw a team off.
Correct.
I mean, it was just amazing. And now the one you were talking about, he had dove at a guy later. The guy had the sideline on him, and he missed him. And I kind of made a comment, and you kind of said, "That's a get off my guy." But he dove at him, and I believe the guy got the first down. That was one of their longest plays of the game. They only had like 5 plays that were over 10 yards. I think it was amazing. Matter of fact, I've got some stats on that. They ran for 41 yards, 17 carries, 41 yards. Wow. I've got White, the running back White, ran for 2.7 yards a carry. Mayfield had 1 for 2, so that's a 2 yard per carry. And then Tucker had 2 for 1, so he had 0.5 yards per carry. Yeah. So we're talking, all the running backs were under 3 yards a carry, which is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's really cool. Moving on to talk about our Under the Nest. Both of mine come at the end of the second quarter. Under the nest, of course, is when we choose a play that went under the radar, just because maybe a bigger play happened around it, or some other stuff went on, or someone missed it. But both of mine were at the end of the second quarter. You already talked about your defensive one.
Yes,
Zach. Or I'm sorry, the safety. Yes. What was your offensive under the
offensive
nest?
One now? Because I only got to watch the game once, I didn't get to rewatch it yet. There's one play, we were down inside the 30. It was a handoff to Swift, ran right. Juergens, and I told you about the play, but I don't know if you ever actually got to see it, but he kind of was in this position. He pulled right, and he pancaked one of the linemen. Okay. And again, Swift had as big as this room hole to run through. And he picked up 8 or 10 yards like he did on every carry. But Juergens was it was good to see, again, because, he's kind of – some of those newer guys have been the new linemen have been kind of given a hard time early in the first
He's
game.
number 5 of 5 on the offensive line, and he's aware of that, but he's not playing like that.
No, he played well. And then there was another play he made, but my play was that pancake. He made another one downfield where Swift was running. And it was unfortunate. I was really hoping that he would break one into the end zone from 10 or 15 out, but it just didn't happen. But, boy, he had some good runs yesterday.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, both of mine, like I said, end of the second quarter. The defensive one was with over 9 minutes left in the first half. Sidney Brown broke up an almost touchdown catch for Mike Evans. It was 3rd and 9 at the time, and it allowed for a field goal. This one's probably not so much under the nest. A lot of people were aware of it, but it still hasn't been talked about as much as I thought it should have been. Completely different game if he catches that, because that made it 3-3. And at the time, it would have been 7-3. So that's a whole different game. It's a whole different offense. It's a whole different gameplay for the defense if we're down 7-3.
The pucker factor comes in. You start getting a little bit nervous. Yes. Like, oh, my gosh, they scored and we're killing them, but they got the lead.
Instead, he made it 3-3. They kicked a field goal and then, end of the game until they scored a late touchdown. But, that incredible play for him to make up distance. He was kind of beat by Mike Evans. And, Sidney Brown, he got a lot of snaps in the slot last night, which was great to see. But he really made up for that separation, and he got his hand in there to knock the ball away. A lot of people said they thought Mike Evans probably wouldn't have caught it anyways, but he would have, maybe.
So that's the other one, that one where he went up the ladder and amazing catch. So you never know.
My offensive one was with over 6 minutes left in the first half. We were still tied 3-3, like I said. And Alameda Zacchaeus had a 24-yard catch on 2nd and 2. This got them down to, I believe, the 34? It got us down to the 34. Yes, you're correct. Yeah, it got us down to the 34, which allowed for us to throw a 34-yard touchdown 3 plays later.
So tell me, do you think that was going to go for a touchdown? Because when he threw that ball, he's getting hit. He stood in the pocket, and they gave him a lot of time, but the pocket was collapsing. Yeah. And when he threw that ball, I'm like, no way. And then, of course, you see
out of nowhere.
Oh, my gosh.
I know, it was great. Yeah, I can't lie and tell you that I thought it was going to be a touchdown. No, I did not. I didn't think it was going to be a pick or anything like that. I kind of thought it was going to be incomplete pretty far. But Zacchaeus, he made up for the speed. His speed made up for it. He got right there, perfect in time.
Number 3 wide receiver now?
I think so.
I mean, I like Quez.
I love Quez.
Pulling for him.
I was pulling for him. I like Quez, but he needs to be used more. I'm not going to say for sure number 3, but he needs to be used more. Yes. Yeah. All right, moving on to that. Do you have anything else to say about the game?
Just their passing yards, the total, the 133 yards passing. That was 146 minus 13s in sacks, I believe.
Yeah, sack yards.
And then rushing 41 yards, so they had 174 yards to our 472 yards. So we almost had them by 300 yards.
Wow,
298. That was the gap right there.
That's
I think that's it. And I know a few weeks ago I talked about the Vikings game. We ran 10 times their runs. Well, yesterday we ran 5 times. So they had 40, we had 200. So.
Moving on to just some of the roster changes that happened, or not roster changes, but roster moves that happened for the game yesterday. The practice squad pull-ups. Braden Mann was pulled up. Of course, he's the punter, of course. So he had 1 punt for 38 yards. Not an incredible punt, but like you said, we ran our own 45. So it's not like it's, it better be in the 3. No, it's what you got. You get what you can. Very happy to see that Devin Allen was playing. He was pulled up to be the kick returner because both of ours were out, Quez and Boston Scott, not Boston. But yeah, Devin Allen, I was happy to see him play. His kickoff return for only 17 yards. It wasn't great, but I was still happy to see that that he got brought up onto the team, and he was a gunner later on in special teams.
Yeah, I'm really not a kickoff guy. Just take the ball, 25-yard mark. I don't know if you heard. I heard some rumors about they're thinking about making some changes to where if your kickoff goes through the goalposts.
No,
I heard somebody talk about that.
Yes, I know.
Just stop.
No,
put it at the 15 or something. I'm like, no, just keep it the way it is.
And I know it does happen where a kicker can get it through the uprights, and people are saying, "Oh, the kicker, if he gets it through the uprights, it puts them at the 20 or the 15, or something like that." And I'm like, I don't want my kicker going out there and stressing out he needs to focus on his 62-yard kicks, not on I'm not a fan of that at all. I think that's a really dumb idea, but
I say take the fair catch and get it at the 25. Correct. Less injuries for your team, not the other team, your team, and you get the ball to 25. Let's go.
Yeah. Some of the injuries that happened yesterday, the most obvious one to talk about, one was Landon Dickerson. He went down. Sua Opeta came in for him, played well enough to end out the game. Opeta's a good depth piece, so it's good that we have guards like that on the backups. But yeah, Dickerson, he got hurt when he pancaked this guy, just completely flattened him. Incredible play to get hurt on. Sidney Brown also got hurt. He had, a thigh, they said?
Yes, thigh. Yeah. He was stretching it. But he didn't even go in the locker room.
I was going to say, I read about it. It says it wasn't serious. And then Justin Evans, our other safety, looks like he had maybe tweaked his neck a bit. Again, another one that didn't seem too serious. Seemed like he was probably able to go back in, but he, why throw him back in when he's hurt when we're up 25-3? No point in doing that. Yeah, we'll go ahead and jump onto in other news, talk about some of the top plays around the league. We do have a top 5 plays here. Do you want to jump on that?
You actually have the top 5 plays.
Well, no, you.
Okay. What we got here is the Rondell Moore 45-yard touchdown against the Cowboys. Great run.
Gorgeous.
That was a beautiful run.
Couldn't believe it.
And then, of course, the fullback punt return, which was slow motion.
It was
a kickoff return.
It was a kickoff return, yep.
That's why I thought it was a punt because I'm going, why is this guy returning the kick?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the lead blockers on the kickoff return, and they kicked it short.
It was slow motion.
I know.
I mean, it was a great cut, and he took it outside, but
crazy.
That was just
85-yard too.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, Keenan Allen 49-yard touchdown pass to Mike Evans.
Mike Williams,
who unfortunately blew his knee out.
Herbert threw it backwards to Allen, and then Allen chucked it deep to Mike Williams. I was a little upset because Herbert's my quarterback, and I was like, but Mike Williams was Ben's wide receiver. Also, obviously, he tore his ACL, so he's out for the season, unfortunately. But
that was. And they needed every one of those points to beat the Vikings, which was a very exciting day for us.
Exciting game, yeah.
And then you have, of course, DeAndre Swift 26-yard hurdle over Antoine Winfield, which is incredible. I mean, it was a great run, but on that one, he looked like a track star, and he was running twice as fast as everybody else on the field.
That's the famous.
The hole was huge.
That's the picture I was going to say. That's the picture I've already seen from the game. Is that before that they pause it while he's running, and the whole it's 7 of him. And then he jumps over Antoine Winfield, which was great.
And it took another 8 or 10 yards on that carry.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
And then number one, I'll go ahead and I just have the Miami Dolphins. I can't really choose a play. They were incredible, but they won 70-20. And so that's the play of the week. To do that was unbelievable. I'd probably give the play to Mike White, who threw, I believe, a 68-yard touchdown. I do not know who it was to, but he was the backup quarterback who came in to kind of, end the game, and he threw a 68-yard touchdown. Phenomenal. Just that's probably the best play of the week. But they were incredible.
Ping pong football there.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Next thing we'll jump into is the Eagles rooting guide. We're getting a little tired of going play like every single game in the rooting guide, so we're just going to choose the most important ones, obviously division, and then we'll choose like 3 others that we kind of feel that are important, maybe to the draft pick or to the NFC playoff rankings or the playoff listings. To start off, we have the Cowboys. They lost to the Cardinals 28-16. Phenomenal game. For those who know me, and I was with Ben watching it, and I right away I'm like, I can't watch it. I can't watch the Cowboys games because they just make me upset. I get too angry when they score. To me, watching a Cowboys game while they're winning, it's like watching an Eagles game while we're losing. Yeah. Probably times 2. It's even worse. Like I just can't watch it. So once they started losing, I think at the time they were losing 3-0, and I was like, okay, like I'll kind of look at it. And then I saw the Rondale Moore touchdown, and I was like, okay, now I'm stuck. I got to watch the whole thing. And I watched the rest of it, so that was nice to watch them lose. Obviously, big deal, especially this weekend with the Giants losing to the Niners 30-12 and the Commanders losing to the Bills 37-3. Huge weekend for the division. Funny because last week I was telling you the Eagles had a really bad week. We won Thursday night, but every single other team won in the division, and it was like, man, that's really not good.
Yeah.
This week, opposite. We win on Monday night, and they all lost on Sunday, which was phenomenal.
Yeah, we knew going into Monday night, if we won, we would have been the only one in our division to win. And that's big this early in the season. That's huge.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially when we beat an NFC opponent on the road, and some of those guys lost. One of them was on the road. I believe one was at home. I think the Commanders.
The Commanders
were home.
Yeah.
So you love whenever that happens. But it's so funny. Remember, I'm watching that game with you, and I'm like, Reds, and you're like, dude, they're losing. They're going to get killed.
And he was getting mad. He's like, don't let the Commanders drive. And I'm just like, dude, they're losing 24-0. Like,
I don't care.
It's the fourth quarter. Like,
still early.
Nothing's going to happen.
There's 3 minutes left.
So yeah, nice to see the Giants lose to the Niners. Not so great because I don't like the Niners either, but nice to see the Commanders losing to the Bills. Pretty bad. Next, we have the Saints lost to the Packers 18-17. Crazy game. I can't say it's the best game of the weekend, but crazy game for them to come back after just kind of being just lackluster, just not existent. 17-0 in the fourth quarter. I believe it's an 18-point fourth quarter comeback. Incredible. Great job by Jordan Love. Again, I don't like the Packers, but
it's funny because we're watching that game going, yeah, he's terrible. They're not that good at all. And then of course, you see they come back and win. You're like, oh my gosh,
wow, yeah. Obviously, the Saints did lose Derek Carr, so then they had to bring in Jameis Winston, which is the ultimate loser. So that makes sense. But next we have the Seahawks. They beat the Panthers 37-27. Kind of a bigger beatdown than the score shows. I guess I shouldn't say that because it was kind of a close game, but then it came down to the last 17. They were up by 17 towards the end of the game, so it really wasn't that close. But it was still a pretty cool game to watch. But the Seahawks, that's going to be, they're going to be a big deal down the line. Looks like the Panthers are kind of on their way. They're 0-3. They're kind of on their way to being a top 5 pick again. But the Seahawks, they played well, and I think they're kind of a scary team, especially when their team is healthy. They've got the wide receivers. They've got their running back. We'll see if Geno can continue to be that quarterback. But they've got a team. Next, we have the Lions beat the Falcons 20-6. Another NFC matchup. Almost every one of these was an NFC matchup. So pretty big weekend for the NFC standings to change and everything like that. Falcons were 2-0, and now they're 2-1. Lions, what does this take them to? 2-1 as well, I think. Yeah. So pretty. It's nice to see everyone's kind of leveling out at 2-1, except for us. That's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah. So overall, standings are looking good. I like that we're the leader of a division. Makes me happy. Yeah. Obviously, the Niners are ahead of us in the seed because of all the scoring that they had and everything against the Steelers and then the Niners and the Giants. But
Yeah.
So moving on, we got a little bit of a surprise here, and I kind of forgot before 10 minutes before the recording, so I kind of had to throw this one together. But we wanted to do a list. Like we said, we got kind of tired of doing the entire rooting guide. It's just a lot that I don't think a lot of people care about too much. So we're going to be doing a top 10 running backs list for the Eagles all time. I'm going to give it over to you, Dad. He has some stats. I just have names, but
Okay.
he's got a top 10.
So I've got Steve Van Buren, of course. He was our not our leading rusher of all time, but he led the league in rushing 4 times. He had 2 1,000-yard seasons in the 12 games season. So
Is that, you said that's your number one?
he's my number 1.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yes. Number 2 would be McCoy. He's got 6,972 yards and 14 fumbles and 1,750 touches. So he was amazing for us all those years. I got Westbrook as my number 3. All-time yards from scrimmage player for us.
Okay.
Only 12 fumbles and 1,900 touches, which is incredible. I had to throw some older guys in there. I got Wilbert Montgomery in there. He with 2-time Pro Bowl, 57 touchdowns, but 42 fumbles and 1,700 touches. So that kind of hurts you a little bit. Number 5, Deuce Staley, 3 1,000-yard seasons with us. He had 4,807 yards. And then I just have 5 more that I just kind of picked and choose. But I got Timmy Brown. He played in the 60s for the Eagles. Miles Sanders, I got his number 7.
Wow.
I know he only played for 4 years. And like I was telling you, once you get past 5 or 6 for the Eagles, there's really not, a lot of them are only 2 or 3 year players.
Yeah.
Keith Byers, he was a great player for us, but he became more of a receiving back in the day and a heck of a blocker. And then I've got LeGarrette Blount, who he's got a ring. Yeah. So, he's amazing.
I thought about putting him on here. I didn't.
And I threw some of the other ones out that maybe had a lot more yards. But I got Sproles, even though he wasn't really a running back. He was a great returner for us and a big change of player. And he got a Super Bowl ring with us, too.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to say him because I have him on my list. Okay. So I wasn't really expecting that. I'm going to go 10-1. Number 10, I have Miles Sanders. Again, I don't have all the stats, sorry. 9, I got Keith Byers. 8, I got Tom Woodchick.
Right. He's an older guy.
Yep. 7, Timmy Brown. 6, Darren Sproles. I know this kind of shows my recency bias as a younger guy.
That's fine.
I loved Sproles. Especially because Sproles, he played on the Super Bowl team, but he also played on some of the bad Eagles teams. Yeah. He was in 2014. 2014, which was okay. 2015, horrible. 2016, yeah. 2017, Super Bowl year.
Game changer.
Then 28, he got hurt early in the Super Bowl year. 2018, we weren't that good. Mm-hmm. And then I think he played with us till 2019. I don't know for sure, man. I might be wrong on that. But he played on some bad Eagles teams, and he was the best part of the team.
Kept his chin up.
Absolutely. Number 5, our 5 is the same. Our top 5 is the same, except it's moved around one spot. 5, I got Deuce Staley. 4, Wilbert Montgomery. 3, I got Steve Van Buren. 2, I've got Brian Westbrook. And number 1, I've got the shady McCoy.
That makes sense. It's hard when you got a guy that I didn't even get to see play half of these guys. I didn't see Wilbert Montgomery play that much, even though I was fairly young at the time. Timmy Brown, not at all. Steve Van Buren, just know hearing about him and reading about him. And but the other guys I saw play. And McCoy's probably our best. We should have never got rid of him, but if he had stayed with us another year or two, he would have been all-time everything for us.
Easily, absolutely. Yep. Moving on, just to talk about some other sports teams. We got the Phillies. They swept the Mets. They're playing right now. What's their record at? I didn't have that ready.
89.
No, it wouldn't be 89, would it? Oh, 87 and 69 looks like.
Okay.
87 and 69. Whoops, sorry. 87 and 69. They're winning against the Pirates right now. They just swept the Mets, which was huge.
Yeah.
Their magic number is down to 1.
Right.
To clinch a spot. Yeah. They're in the bottom of the 10th. So we're in we're in an extra innings game right here. So we'll see what we got here.
Well, for the home team, we won.
Then why does it?
I don't know.
Interesting.
It says bottom 10. That's weird.
I don't know. Maybe I have the wrong thing on there. That's kind of weird.
I know.
But hey, maybe we're in. But yeah, magic number is 1, so hopefully we win that tonight. Tomorrow, the Philadelphia Union, they play Dallas FC. So me, I'm a guy who hates all Dallas teams. Not a fan of the Mavericks. Not a fan of obviously the Cowboys. Don't like the Rangers. So let's go Union.
There you go.
Union. Penn State on Saturday, we won 31-0. I think they finally jumped up in the rankings to 6th. Yeah, that's nice to see. I was getting tired of that number 7, even though that's my favorite number. But but yeah, nice to see them up to 6. They're playing against Northwestern, so even if they win, they probably won't change in the rankings again because that's
unless top 4 or 5 guys lose.
True. I mean, if USC loses to Colorado, we'll see. And USC, they look like they dropped too. But Penn State, up to 6, so that's good. Hoping to see a national championship someday soon. But yeah, that'd be really fun. All right. And other than that, do you have anything else to say?
I do. I've got a scoregami here. On this past last night's game, we won 25-11, and it's one of the scores that has never been a final score in the NFL. So I think it's like 1,068 or 1,070 different scores. So the 25-11 was never been used before. And it kind of reminded me of when the Eagles played the Giants in the playoffs in 2008. We won the game 23-11, which at the time had never been a final score either. So I just thought it was interesting. And that game was played in 2009.
Phillies did win. They're going to the playoffs.
Okay. So
they're going to the playoffs.
That's weird how it's hung up there.
That's awesome.
And other than that, I just have today is the 11th anniversary of my dad passing, so I just wanted to say that.
Absolutely. Miss you, Zeto. Love you, Mima. Hope you're doing good. And to all the other Rabeda family out there, Danovich family, everyone who loved him, Cardos, Prahatny, Ellis. Big day in our history together. All love to Zeto. We miss you, man. Hopefully you're listening up there. But other than that, we're all set here to say our goodbyes. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can like and subscribe or comment below with questions or topics or comments. You can email us at oureaglestherapy@gmail.com. If you want us to talk about anything or have any questions that you want us to answer on here, whatever. But other than that, this is from our Eagles Therapy podcast. My name is Basil.
And I'm Baz.
Go Birds.
And fly, Eagles, fly. And I do have one more thing to say. We didn't mention the count at Frankie's last night. We had 48 people. 48. David is our official count keeper, so he let me know and told us for the podcast, make sure you let us know how many fans were there. So hopefully next Sunday, 11 o'clock.
Yep.
Hopefully we get a good house in there, maybe get 100 or 150 like last week, first Sunday.
I am so ready for an 11 o'clock game.
Yes.
I know 1 o'clock back east, but 11 o'clock out here, I'm so excited for that to be back.
Scrambling the schedule stuff.
One of our 2 or one of our 3, we can check it on here, but I think it's just one of 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so one of 3.
And then we will have another episode for a preview for the
of
Commanders game coming up probably Friday night.
Yeah, probably come out Saturday night. We'll record Friday night, have it out Saturday, or have it Saturday morning.
So sorry I ruined your
You're all good. You're all good.
Your outro. So
we'll say goodbye again. I'm Basil.
And I'm Baz.
Go Birds.
And fly, Eagles, fly.
Ah.